we're back in business here. We didn't really adjourn. This is the ordinance relating to permeable land use, and we're giving some leeway to the area in the overlay area. So that they do anything they put in there has to be made of permeable material, but they don't. It's not quite as strict as the what we're requiring in the residential area as far as permeability. This is only in the overlay zone, and this would only be allowed if the person were putting in affordable housing units. So somebody could build it in the overlay zone and not do affordable housing units.
Can you just clarify, Sherry, that the overlay zone still follows the original ordinance of 75%, 25%, but they're not responsible for the 60%, 40% that the new ordinance. So they're still held accountable for the previous 75%.
They are, correct. Yes, absolutely. Would anybody like to come forward and speak to that? Yes.
Good evening, Colleen Lambert, 115 8th Street. Most of you were at the land use board meeting, so I think you probably know what I'm going to say. First of all, I think it's a wonderful ordinance. I think it's long overdue. I think it's something that we badly, badly need. Except, and I know it doesn't sound like a big deal, but it still seems very discriminatory that the residential area, and I can take you back 56 years on my property, has never flooded. And my neighbors can all pretty much say the same thing. I'm sure what they call the Golden Mile now will all say the same thing. And a lot of other areas that may have flooded during Sandy, but usually don't. We're going to be held to this. And, downtown with the affordable housing isn't. Because when you're looking at what's been passed and approved already, they're kind of the ones that are about 100% impervious. So it really doesn't make sense to me. At the last meeting, I know, I mentioned because Ms. Gibbons, she left, brought up the fact that the state of New Jersey is really getting on the municipalities. They said we are at a critical mass and we've got to do something about this flooding. And we do. They're 100% right. And, they also mentioned the Clean Stormwater Act of March 2018. Again, the state is saying, we want you to do something. So I know Mr. Burris insinuated that if we weren't in the meeting when the agreement was made, we really don't comprehend. And I think I do comprehend. I think the whole thing here is we have an opportunity to go to the state and say, hey, can we revisit that fair housing agreement? Anything is open. You can always revisit something, whether it works or not, that remains to be seen. And, it kind of puzzles me a little bit, Mr. Burris's grasp on the whole entire flood zone. Because with the pocket park, I was sitting here at the meeting when construction was way behind schedule, and he attributed it to flooding. Well, everybody knows that area of town is among the worst flood zone in the town. It's notorious, it's historic. And then just last week, he alluded again to the fact that somebody pushing a baby carriage has to go way out around the puddles on 7th Street. We've known that forever. If you build in a flood zone, you're going to have problems, and the pocket park is in a flood zone. So I'm kind of confused as to why he doesn't quite grasp the concept of the flood zone. It's like building next to the airport and complaining about the noise. I don't get that. My concern also is that, the taxpayers of Beach Haven are going to take on a $3 million debt to build the pumping stations. Again, I have no problem with the pumping stations, but if we're going to allow buildings not to conform, get this special exclusion, and they're going to be putting water into our system as fast as the pumps can take it out, seems counterproductive to me. It really does. I would say at the very least, we should be enforcing our own master plan, which is the 75-25. And we haven't been doing that. Look at Victoria Rose, look at the building at the old post office on 5th Street. They have to be almost 100% impervious, at least the 5th Street building is. I'm not sure about Victoria Rose, but I know it was over when it was presented last year. The other thing we should do is require underwater recharge piping, which is also part of our master plan, which we're also not enforcing. We've actually got the law, we just have to start making sure that we are using it. It's interesting that the builders and developers in this town want it both ways. They want the abatements. They want the redevelopment, rehab. We learned that, okay, back taxes, that's legitimate, but it's a flood zone and that trumps everything. I agree. We're in a flood zone. Nobody in this room is going to argue with you at all. But then why not follow the rules to mitigate the flooding? It's like they want it both ways, and I think we need to take a good look at that. I would like to see the borough be proactive and talk to the state. The worst they can say is, no, we're not going there, tough. And then, like I said, we have to be more diligent about enforcing the laws. I know at one point, actually, Mr. Burris said that when he was talking about his 4th Street proposal, that the property on 5th Street was probably too much building for that location. I don't know if any of you remember that. And I said, yeah, it is. So let's move forward. And basically, what I would like to do, well, first of all, we have to make sure that everybody has the downspout collection and the underground recharge galleries, everyone, period. And I would like to, and I'm going to read this, make sure I wrote it at home, make sure I didn't, encourage and challenge all builders and developers to be part of the solution to Beach Haven's flooding issue and not part of the problem. I know it might mean less money in the way of profits, but anyone who truly cares for this town knows we desperately need help. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else like to speak?
Theodore Lambert, 516 North Atlantic. I want to give you a little hypothetical here. Let's pretend I'm a business owner. 15 years in business, year-round business. I live above my store. I renovated the building. It's an adorable little seaside shop. Well-known in the community. Everybody loves the shop. I wiped out in Sandy, rebuilt, wipe out all the time. High tide, I get flooded. I'm looking at my numbers. So I'm crunching my numbers and business isn't that great right now. But what can help my business? I gotta get the plastic bags back. Paper bags are costing me too much money. Are you gonna give me an exemption and let me use plastic bags? Of course not. You're gonna laugh at me and say, Theo, that's ridiculous. And I agree with you. That's exactly what you should say. But we are giving these developers, we're bending over backwards, giving them every exemption you can possibly think of. We cannot keep giving these exemptions. Impervious is so important, and we're all environmentalists here. We live on a barrier island. If we're not going to have the 60-40 for the overlay zone, we have to enforce the 75-25. And as Colin said, we're not doing that. Now again, Mayor Davis, I'm going to quote from your article, "Is Long Beach Island sinking?" Because I so agree with you. I think it's fantastic. The fire department is concerned about getting to fires in the future, Davis said. Most of the flooding is on the main drag and on the street to the west. What does the mayor think is the problem? For starters, tide levels are rising and LBI is overbuilt, so there isn't much pervious land to absorb the water, she said. I know you care. I know you all do. We all do. We need to stop this. We need to force these builders, and the boulevard we all know is what floods. Our houses don't. We need to cut back and make them fulfill the ordinance. Stop giving them all these exemptions. Thank you very much.
I just have to respond. Because I really do believe what I said. I know you do. But we're in a situation where we're also stuck with other laws. As much as this affordable housing stuff doesn't make a whole lot of sense on a barrier island where lots are at a premium, it doesn't make sense. We're still stuck with it. And we work diligently, that's all I can say, to try to get some sort of agreement with the affordable housing people. Lots and lots of meetings, lots and lots of lawyers, if I could make affordable, I like the idea of bringing some young people in and letting them have affordable. I love that idea, but it doesn't make a whole lot of sense when lots go for 500,000 or more. And I agree with you. But you're stuck. It's like being stuck between a rock and a hard place. one of the reasons I'm supporting the pumping stations and trying to improve the infrastructure under the ground for stormwater drainage is to try to deal with this problem. I don't think we have followed the ordinance. We have increased the amount of permeable land in the majority of Beach Haven. In the business area, if it is an overlay area, meaning that if they put in something with affordable housing. I mean, let's face it, so far we only have one affordable housing unit. I don't expect to have massive numbers of these. And I agree with Colleen in that I think when we started this, we were really excited about getting some affordable housing, and we allowed too much density. And I would like to be more restrictive on the amount of density in these lots on Main Street in the future. That's my thought. But I still think we're sort of in this difficult position where we have to convince the affordable housing people that we're trying to meet our goal. And when we talked to them about this issue, they said, well, that's easy. All you have to do is build taller buildings, and then you can have all that permeable land. So they said, why don't you go up to 50-some feet? Well, I mean, that's not going to fly. So it just seemed like if we could at least keep what we had in the overlay area. And that's not, I mean, you only would get that if you were actually doing affordable housing unit. You could build something along those areas, and if it was just a regular thing, then you don't have to, you have to comply with the other ordinance. But it just, the one thing we did do, I think that made it more palatable to me, was say that any kind of hard surface that goes down has to be permeable material. And I know we can get into a big argument about that it doesn't work so well and there's all kinds of problems with it. It does tend to work better if you don't drive on it a lot. So, I mean, if it's not, roads don't work well at all. But, so that's, I just had to say that because it's been a difficult decision on my part as well.
My point maybe ask them, because the state's coming down on us saying, you know, hey, you gotta do something. And then they're saying we have a Clean Water Act that wasn't in place when you made that agreement. Ask them, what do you have to lose? And I mean, like something like the Fifth Street building is 100% impervious.
We can continue to talk with them, that's all I can say.
That's all I'm asking is.
We can continue to talk with them. But I think, yeah. But you have to come up and state your name and address because it gets on a recording.
I'm very confused. I'm Don Gula, 168th Street. I'm very confused about this affordable housing. Could you tell me how other towns on Long Beach Island are handling it?
Yes, I can. They don't have to handle it. We got sued, we got a lawsuit, which is called a builder's remedy lawsuit. And even though the person they dropped the lawsuit, it went to the Affordable Housing Commission, and that put us, we couldn't stay under the radar screen, so they got right on us. So we are in a situation where we have to comply.
Why don't we ignore it?
Well, we can't really ignore it because they're on our backs all the time. By law, we can't ignore it.
Trump does all the time.
Who does? I don't know how he gets away with it, but he does, yeah, so.
Well, it seems to me we're being singled out.
Well,
And a housing unit that starts at $199,000, to me, is not affordable housing.
Well,
I mean, I think it's ridiculous.
It is, out of the 565 municipalities in the state of New Jersey, about 250 are going through the same thing that we're going through currently right now. So we're not alone in this, but as soon as a lawsuit comes through, we have to follow through with what the state says. So currently we do have an affordable house obligation, but we also have a realistic development potential of 0% because we don't have any available lots to build. But we do, the state says we have to have a plan in place. And we do have a plan in place, but it's going to be impossible to build our obligation, which is 181 units. So we have a realistic development potential of 0% but we have to have, the state says we have to have a plan in place. The other 250 municipalities also have to have a plan in place. Cape May has to have a plan in place. Beach Haven has to have a plan in place. If someone sues the Long Beach Township, they will have to put a plan in place. So
That's very well said.
we have to abide by what the state says, and we have a plan, but we also have a realistic potential of 0%.
This is like giving somebody the Hebrew Daily in South Carolina for literacy class.
I understand, it's the state,
It's very
we
confusing.
have to abide by it.
It's very confusing. John? You see it's from moving to 11 o'clock.
John Harvey, 211 Second Street. I was talking with some people in another town, and evidently there is a way to get current housing that is under market priced, classified as affordable housing. What I mean by this is if a Murphy's purchases a building and puts up their employees at a below market value, that would qualify as affordable housing. Or if you look at some 4-unit apartments on, let's say, Dock Road that might be below market, those would qualify as affordable housing. So one is how to build more, but the second is how do you take an inventory? And obviously it has to be done in a way that's somewhat anonymous and I don't know what the right word is, but it has to be done in a survey so that people aren't disclosing something that maybe they don't want to disclose. But there are towns that have done that. I'm not sure if you're familiar with it.
Thank you.
Sure.
Anybody else want to speak to the impermeable ordinance? All right, I close the floor. Do we have a vote? Do we have a motion?
Motion to approve.
Second,
Mr. Allen.
Yes.
Mrs. Bauer.
yes.
Mr. Lynch.
Yes.
Mr. Maskell.
Yes.
Mayor Davis.
Yes.
Ordinance 2019-19C, an ordinance amending Chapter 199, Vehicles and Traffic, Part 2, Handicap Parking, Article 12, Schedules of the Borough of Beach Haven, adding angled handicap parking on 2nd Street. Final reading.
Is anybody like to come forth and speak to this ordinance? Oh, I'm opening the floor. Yes.
Ann Smith, 204 Second Street. The 2 angled parking spots at Bay Avenue and 2nd are 2 required?
I called our engineer about that because there's one in the parking area and then there's the 2 on the street. And then Buckaloo's has another spot on the Center Street side in the property. And I didn't really feel that we needed 2 on the street. And our engineer gave me the answer. He said, well, everybody uses those parking spots even if they're not handicapped. I see people jumping in and out of cars that aren't handicapped, which is true.
Yes, I do too.
And I think at this stage in the game, the amount of work would be to take one away. It would be a lot. I told him I'm going to drive up there every day in the summer and make sure that both those spots are filled when everything else is filled, because I tend to agree with you. I think that even though I know a lot of people abuse the handicap thing, you see people that are perfectly healthy getting out of cars in handicap spots.
They run over to the Che.
Yeah, exactly.
They're not handicapped.
And it isn't right. So we can always change this back, but I think for the time being, at the late date it is right now, we should pass this ordinance and keep an eye on those spots, see if there are handicapped cars in them, and during the summer, and when there are minimal parking spots on 2nd Street, I know that, and see what it, and if it looks like they're not being utilized, turn one of them back into a regular parking spot.
Okay, I guess they can't be on the main street though. It's not safe in that.
Well, the other thing is those handicapped parking spots take up a lot more space because they're much bigger, right?
Yes, they do.
So, you have to have enough room to get a wheelchair out and all that stuff. So
True.
I think it would be difficult. Jay, you might know something about this. You're raising your hand back there. Could you come up and speak?
Jay Cradner, Buckaloo Station. There are two spaces there. One is van accessible, but it's on the corner, so they can advantage of the distance you have to be from the corner. To get your 5 people into it. It didn't eliminate any spaces
Okay,
on Second Street. But to compensate for that, we, on our expense, on the county approval, we took all the stripes off the avenue.
I know you do.
We got 4 more spaces, like 12 or 15 spaces in the avenue. If you want to, we let rid of the handicap space that we put in the station parking lot, and just make it regular spaces we have to out there. There's one in Center Street, we have one meanwhile.
Yeah, I know you do.
Did you put another handicap in your parking lot?
We have one in our parking
You
lot.
have one.
We have one in 6 parking lots. We have provided.
I know.
We have 30 spaces, 2 of which are handicapped. We have 28 parking spaces all the way around us.
And they do count the parking spots. I mean, when, for example, with the Black Whale, they count the parking spots that are on the street as being utilized for that restaurant, so those do count. So, I mean, in essence, in the Buckaloo's plan, they actually increased the number of parking spots. I don't really understand what you said. If you remove the one on the corner, the handicap lot that was on the corner, you couldn't put a regular spot?
The spaces on public streets, we're not counting.
Right.
Not in our case.
I know it doesn't count on the ordinance, but people try to say, well, look,
Also, in station parking lot, there are 5 spaces, one of them is built.
Right.
We could eliminate that because there are 2 providers that have something to itself. That would give one more regular space for people to use. I've seen both restaurants, there are a lot of people who have handicaps, legitimate handicaps.
Right.
You need it. If you look at the 28 spaces between Center Bay and Second Street, between our property, plus the 28 that we have in our lots. We got 56 spaces. There are only 4 for handicapped. It's not a lot. When you think about the elderly population, the spaces.
And I'm all for handicap parking. Believe me, I've worked with handicapped people for 20 years, so people with disabilities. But if I hear we're gonna have 20 more patrolmen coming into town. I think that's true. And we need them because maybe they could keep an eye on those spots and make sure the people that are parking there do truly need them. That's my main goal. It's tough.
well, that's the
We
problem.
need more people on that street.
If you have a handicap sticker on your car and you lend it to your kid or something.
I know.
And that's really immoral to do that, in my opinion, unethical, I should say. But and it is, but people do it all the time.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay, I'm gonna close the floor to that particular ordinance. Do I have a motion to approve?
Motion to approve.
Second.
Mr. Allen?
Yes.
Mrs. Bowman?
Yes.
Mr. Lynch?
Yes.
Mr. Maskell?
Yes.
Mayor Davis?
Yes.
Ordinance 2019-20 is the 2019 salary ordinance establishing ranges for the 2019. Final reading.
Again, final reading, would somebody like to come up and speak to this ordinance? Floor's open.
Smoking one?
No.
The salary ordinance. Okay, I close the floor. Is there a motion to approve?
Motion to approve.
Second.
Mr. Allen?
Yes.
Mrs. Bowman?
Yes.
Mr. Lynch?
Yes.
Mr. Maskell?
Yes.
Mayor Davis?
Yes.
Ordinance 2019-10C is an ordinance amending Chapter 180 swimming pools of the Code of the Borough of Beach Haven, establishing rules and regulations for pools within the Borough of Beach Haven, first reading.
All right, well, this isn't open to public comment, but this will give you time to read it, and hopefully this will decrease some of the problems we're seeing with pools. Okay, do I have a motion to approve?
Motion to approve 1910C.
Second.
Mr. Allen?
Yes.
Mrs. Bowmiller?
Yes.
Mr. Lynch?
Yes.
Mr. Maskell?
Yes.
Mayor Davis?
Yes.
Ordinance 2019-21C, an ordinance amending Chapter 176, Streets and Sidewalks of the Code of the Borough of Beach Haven to require better cutting and restoration of street openings, to require street openings to be saw cut and infrared maintained. First reading.
Again, this is new to the public, and this will just make it easier for people with particularly wheelchairs and handicaps. Is there a motion to approve?
Motion to approve.
Mr. Allen?
Yes.
Mrs. Bowmiller?
Yes.
Mr. Lynch?
Yes.
Mr. Maskell?
Yes.
Mayor Davis?
Yes.
Ordinance 2019-23C, an ordinance amending Chapter 2 Administrative Code, Section B, Division of Treasury, establishing the title of payroll supervisor, pension fund supervisor within the Division of Treasury. First reading.
Again, it's not open to the public. Is there a motion to approve?
Motion to approve. Second?
Mr. Allen?
Yes.
Mrs. Bowmiller?
Yes.
Mr. Lynch?
Yes.
Mr. Maskell?
Yes.
Mayor Davis?
Yes.
Ordinance 2019-24C, an ordinance amending Chapter 171, smoking of the Code of the Borough of Beach Haven, prohibiting smoking in outdoor dining areas. First reading.
Again, it's not open to the public. If you want to read this ordinance, you can come and speak to it next time. Is there a motion to approve?
Motion to approve.
Second.
Mr. Allen?
Yes.
Mrs. Bowmiller?
Yes.
Mr. Lynch?
Yes.
Mr. Maskell?
Yes.
Mayor Davis?
Yes.
All matters listed under item consent agenda are considered to be routine by the municipal council and will be enacted by one motion in the form listed. Any items requiring expenditure are supported by a certification of availability of funds, and any item requiring discussion will be removed from the consent agenda and discussed separately. All consent agenda items will be reflected in full in the minutes. Resolution 129, authorizing the return of street opening bonds. 141, reappointing Sherry Mason as Borough Clerk of the Borough of Beach Haven. 142, reappointing Sherry Mason as Local Registrar of Vital Statistics. 145, supporting some of the Path to Progress recommendations made by the New Jersey Economic and Fiscal Policy Work Group. Resolution 150, approving a resident handicap parking on 11th Street. 151, executing a contract with Long Beach Township for street sweeper. 154, acknowledging the hiring of a DPW employee. 155, approving the 4th of July fireworks for the Red, White, and Blue Committee. 156, approving membership to the New Jersey Firemen's Association. 157, approving change order number 1, final for the 2018 reconstruction of the Public Works Recycling Yard. 158, returning remaining escrow. 160, appointing Mary Claire Bunce as Deputy Manager as per 211 of the Borough Code. And 161, authorizing sale of public property no longer needed for public use. Bicycle auction, Friday, July 5th, 11 a.m. at the Emergency Operations Center.
Would anybody like to remove any of these any particular resolution for further discussion? Okay, do I have a motion to approve all
Motion
those
to approve.
resolutions?
Second.
Mr. Allen?
Yes.
Mrs. Bowmiller?
Yes.
Mr. Lynch?
Yes.
Mr. Maskell?
Yes.
Mayor Davis?
Yes.
Okay, very quickly, I have the resolutions for liquor license renewals. I will not be presenting 131 right now. We did not get all the required paperwork in order. But we will go on then to 132, 2019, granting a liquor license to J.C. Beach Haven Tavern with special conditions. And we do have to open the floor for each one, Nancy.
Okay, so I'm opening the floor for, it's Buckaloo's in the Station, for any comments regarding the renewal of their liquor license. Would anybody like to speak to that? I close the floor. Is there a motion to approve?
Motion to approve. Second?
Mr. Allen?
Yes.
Mrs. Bowmiller?
Yes.
Mr. Lynch?
Yes.
Mr. Maskell?
Yes.
Mayor Davis?
Yes.
Resolution 133, 2019, granting a liquor license to the Ingleside Inc. with special conditions.
Again, would anybody like to speak to the renewal of the Ingleside's liquor license? I close the floor. Is there a motion to approve?
Motion to approve.
Second.
Mr. Allen?
Yes.
Mrs. Bowmiller?
Yes.
Mr. Lynch?
Yes.
Mr. Maskell?
Yes.
Mayor Davis?
Yes.
Resolution 134, granting a liquor license to Seashell with special conditions.
Again, I'm opening the floor for any comment regarding the renewal of the Seashells liquor license. Anybody like to speak to that? Okay, I'm closing the floor. Is there a motion to approve?
Motion to approve.
Second.
Mr. Allen?
Yes.
Mrs. Bowmiller?
Yes.
Mr. Lynch?
Yes.
Mr. Maskell?
Yes.
Mayor Davis?
Yes.
135 and 136 are not being presented tonight. They did not get their paperwork in order yet. 137, 2019, granting a liquor license to the Marlin Restaurant and Bar, Inc. with special conditions.
Again, I'm opening the floor to the renewal of the Marlins liquor license. Would anybody like to come forward and speak?
This is not, Michael Palin, this is not specific to the Marlin. Just curious, I hear special conditions. Are they all the same for
No.
everybody?
No, they're not.
Or everybody's, well, give me like a,
Well, for example, the Burton Betty's, which isn't on here, they have a team night, so there would be some special condition related to the team night. They're basically, if we just approved the deck on Tucker's, and there are special conditions relating to when alcohol can be served on the deck and when they have to close this operation. Those are examples of special conditions.
great, thanks.
Thank you. Anybody else like to speak to that? I close the floor. Is there a motion to approve the Marlins renewal?
Approved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Mr. Allen?
Yes.
Mrs. Bowmiller?
Yes.
Mr. Lynch?
Yes.
Mr. Maskell?
Yes.
Mayor Davis?
Yes.
Resolution 138, 2019, granting a liquor license to Beach Haven Marlin and Tuna Club with special conditions.
Again, would anybody like to speak to the Marlin and Tuna Club? I close the floor. Is there a motion to approve?
Motion approved. Second.
Mr. Allen?
Yes.
Mrs. Bowmiller?
Yes.
Mr. Lynch?
Yes.
Mr. Maskell?
Yes.
Mayor Davis?
Yes.
Resolution 139, 2019, granting a liquor license to Murphy's Market with special conditions.
Again, would anybody like to speak to Murphy's Market liquor license? Nobody? Okay, close the floor. Is there a motion to approve?
Motion approved. Second.
Mr. Allen?
Yes.
Mrs. Bowmiller?
Yes.
Mr. Lynch?
Yes.
Mr. Maskell?
Yes.
Mayor Davis?
Yes.
Resolution 140, 2019, granting a liquor license to Don Ramos Liquor Store with special conditions.
Would anybody like to speak to Ronald's liquor license? I close the floor. Is there a motion to approve?
Motion approved. Second.
Mr. Allen?
Yes.
Mrs. Bowmiller?
Yes.
Mr. Lynch?
Yes.
Mr. Maskell?
Yes.
Mayor Davis?
Yes.
Resolution 146, 2019, approving a place-to-place transfer of plenary retail consumption license 1503-33-005-006 for Tucker's Restaurant LLC.
Does that have to be open to the floor?
Yes.
Yes, okay. Does anybody like to speak to that? That's allowing them to serve liquor on the upper deck. I close the floor. Is there a motion to approve?
Motion
Serving
approved.
alcohol on the upper floor.
Yeah.
Motion approved. Second.
Mr. Allen?
Yes.
Mrs. Bowmiller?
Yes.
Mr. Lynch?
Yes.
Mr. Maskell?
Yes.
Mayor Davis?
Yes?
I have a bill list this evening in the amount of $1,326,989.34.
Has everybody had a chance to read and look at the bills? Is there a motion to approve the bills?
Motion approved. Second.
Mr. Allen?
Yes.
Mrs. Bowmiller?
Yes.
Mr. Lynch?
Yes.
Mr. Maskell?
Yes.
Mayor Davis?
Yes.
Thank you.
Now I'm opening the floor to public comment. This is a chance to comment on anything, if anybody wants to go. We've had a lot of public comment tonight, but anybody, yeah, you may come,
Please come up.
yeah,
I have a question.
you can ask the question, wait a second. Yeah, we'll take everybody.
Good evening, my name is Jim Conlon, I live at 217 Kentford, and the topic I'd like to talk about is the new recycle program, the use of corrals and the trash. Now, my wife owns the home has been in the family since 1967, so we have a stake in this community. We come here 6 months every year since 1967. So we appreciate the efforts to maintain this community, which is a beautiful community, and we really support the efforts that you have in terms of improving the ambiance and the maintenance of the corrals and the garbage. There are times, however, that the concept, which makes sense, and we heard that tonight, makes sense, but the reality may be slightly different, and I'd like to talk to that reality. On our block, we have 9 different homes. And those homes represent year-round, weekend-only homeowners, rental owners with on-site, rental owners off-site, duplexes up, duplexes down, etc. Basically, the block itself, with these 9 homes, is a microcosm of some of the neighborhoods, not all of them, perhaps not downtown, but a microcosm of some of the other neighborhoods that I'm going to talk to. We've had, in this neighborhood, of these 9 homes, we've had corrals forever, because it helps maintain if you will, of the garbage. It makes sense for the management of the garbage, and particularly with rentals, it allows a bit of uniformity in terms of how the garbage is emptied. Now, we come here with a recommendation, and I'd like to talk to, and I have copies of this recommendation I'll leave with you with illustrations of the points I'm going to make.
I think we've had it emailed to us, correct? Yeah.
Pardon me?
Well, I think we have seen your, we all have received an email that was forwarded to all of us to look
Oh,
at.
from Sherry?
Yes.
Okay, along with the pictures?
Yes.
Okay, fine. Well, then I can be fairly brief, because the recommendation is fairly simple. Maintain that which makes sense for those homeowners, but allow those homeowners who have been impacted by this ordinance to retain corrals near the street. And there's a number of there's a rationale behind it, and I'll be brief. There are physical demands on some of the homeowners who can't move the cans across sand or pebbles into the street. That's one. There are some of the locations, and I'll put that in a minute, where it just prohibits the use of the cans along the side of the house, or certainly for sure at the end of the lot. One of the major issues will be renter compliance, and that is because the tourists come here and they're here to enjoy the family and go to the beach. They're not going to be worried really about having to move cans 3 times a week from the side of the home to the street. It's just not going to work, and some homeowners who may not be on the property have to hire folks to do that. And certainly in our case, which was a downstairs rental, and I travel a lot, my wife will not be able to move those cans to the street. The other notion here, and I think you've seen that, the public works folks, it takes a lot longer to move the cans back to the side of the house, and I've timed this on virtually all the properties I've provided illustrations. 30 seconds versus moving the can from the corral to the truck and back is about 5 seconds. So there's an efficiency issue. There's another issue with that here that may not have been thought through, and that is the appearance. Now, my next door neighbor, and I see that, by the way, on Bay Avenue, there's a lot of recycle cans on the street waiting to be picked up in 2 days. So they have to, when they leave on Sunday night, they have to leave their primary can, garbage can out, and then for the recycle, they have to leave it out 3 nights. And then, of course, the workers put it back to the side. Much easier to have those cans right there by the curb in the corral. Aesthetically, practically, efficiently, and it just makes a whole lot more sense. Again, this is not for everybody, but for those folks who are affected. So we have on the 23rd, that's when the rush comes. That's when we're going to have the renters. And that's where things will get perhaps a little bit chaotic. What I recommend is, I would encourage you to come to Kemper, the street, 9 houses, and let's illustrate the implications for those 9 houses, thinking that they may be a microcosm of some of these other neighborhoods. Let me show you the implication. And you might see that the use of corrals by the curb might make a whole lot more sense for a lot of folks. Not everybody, but for some folks. And I'd like you to consider making the amendment to the ordinance to allow corrals, aesthetically pleasing. Not all corrals are created equal, I understand that. But that would be something that you could consider in terms of how that might look. So I would, in closing, I do encourage you, happy to share with you. My wife would be happy to walk you through the neighborhood and just illustrate the implications, and perhaps you can see the way fit to make a change to allow some folks to use those corrals by the curb for the regional route. So thank you very much for your, and I have passed out to people who want to.
Maybe some people, I did see it online, so maybe some people.
If somebody wants more copies, I have them here.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, who's coming next?
I just have a quick question.
That's fine.
I'm concerned about the
You have to state your name.
Oh, I'm sorry, 116 8th Street. It's KUHLA, probably shortened by Italian on the other side. I walked to the post office, and I walked by the old, where that Victoria Rose is in,
Uh-huh,
and I thought there's still a lawsuit going on.
there is.
Why is he able to build?
Well, it's at his own risk.
Yeah, but what if he loses and is stuck with that?
Well,
Do
you'll
we
have,
have a bond or something?
oh, yeah,
So if we have to clean it up,
Yeah.
there's a bond that could
yeah,
pay.
oh, yeah, of course.
Okay, that was my worry.
Yeah,
Thank you.
yes. You have to come up and, I hate to, you have to speak in the microphone, so this is recorded. People do like to listen to these.
Before we review the liquor license, can you state your name?
I know your name, but it has to go on record.
Lori Anderson, 101 West Avenue. There was mention of the sale of rural property.
Yes,
That's not real estate.
no,
It's bicycles.
it's things that, well, that's the bicycles, we have a bike auction, it was the July 5th. And other times we'll sell, there'll be a police car that's used, or, that sort of thing.
There was a time they had actual lots for sale.
Well, they do, people's property does go up for tax sale, that would be different.
Thanks.
Thank you, yes.
Lee Newworth, 217 Kentford Avenue. My husband forgot, we had adjusted the cover page on this recommendation. And so it has our contact information, so phone number, email. And again, we would invite you to please come one at a time or two as a group. And we would like to show you in our little neighborhood and show you how this ordinance is impacting other people, so that perhaps we can go back and revisit it and say, maybe it makes sense for these people, and for these families it doesn't. So I'm gonna have my husband hand this out.
I can take it and then I'll distribute for you.
Okay, that'd be true, right?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Would anybody else like to come up and speak?
They don't want better than an open bar.
Back again. Michael Peeler. Do you notice how quiet it is? It's because your cooling and heating system is defective. It has been from the start. Would you like to live with that? The ducts are undersized, that's why there's a roaring sound. That's not professional for $7 million.
I don't hear a roaring sound.
Well, you hear nothing now because it just shut off.
Okay.
Listen to and you listen to the videos, it's a nightmare. Hi, Sherry.
Hi, Michael.
I don't see any electric bill this month for streetlights.
We just paid them on the 30th of May.
Okay. I see $2,620 for gasoline. Is that for all municipal vehicles,
Yes.
Police cars.
Filling the tank.
trucks, everything? We fill the tank. What are we paying a gallon?
I'd have to look, but we do purchase through a co-op, so it's a better price, a negotiated price.
I'm paying $2.39 a Costco.
We probably got you beat, but check.
That's Costco, right?
Yeah. I see recycling waste containers, $273,000 and $900.
Yes.
What is that?
That was the ordinance that we adopted back in 2016 or 17 to purchase these cans that you all were given.
Okay. And what's the $78,000 the recycling yard?
That was the repaving of the recycling yard.
Okay. Okay, cool. I guess you guys read my email where the last part of the YouTube video was cut off last month.
Yeah,
Yeah, and I talked to the young man, and he told me what the story was with them. And that's where what was cut off. And because who knows, we should have public comment at the beginning of the meeting when it's packed. You know, although I do appreciate everybody that's here to hear me ramble on, and I won't ramble. Last month I asked you if you all believed in climate change. You did. And I think we should start some common sense conversations about it. Like maybe we should have a goal of planting 10,000 trees. Okay, and plus a host of other things. But that's just one thing I'm throwing out. I said we are a nation of immigrants. We are. We're a nation of immigrants. I also ask, and I'll do this every meeting, to show kindness and respect to all animals. Domestic, wild, farm animals, and marine animals. So, that means we may need some sort of signage on the beach for the idiots that want to take selfies of innocent animals or dragging out of the ocean. I sent you stuff on this last year, you probably remember.
I do remember.
Right. That still seconds me. The cigarette thing, the smoking thing, you gotta include e-cigarettes on there. And I took a picture of a sign in Middlesex County, no smoking, and it showed the little e-cigarette thing. I'll email you that tomorrow.
You mean the vapor things?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right. Because people are gonna do it, and you don't have it on the beach signs where it says no smoking, so maybe getting some stickers and sticking it on that. Because it's a nightmare, what's going on with the vaping. Jeez. Okay, I wouldn't,
Yeah, that's going.
okay, this is not my place to say this, but I will. This is Gay Pride Month. And I mention that because we are becoming a nation of, our tolerance is eroding for every group, religious, people of color, or the LGBTQ community.
This isn't supposed to be a forum for him to get up here and just talk.
Yeah, ask her. Tell that lady that you can stand up and say whatever you want. Are you exhibiting intolerance now?
Let's
see. That's why
Michael,
I mentioned it.
Address the council, please.
Okay. If I had a mirror, I could see you, ma'am.
not just Michael, address us and
Intolerance. Okay?
It's all this meds.
It needs to be talked about, it needs to be mentioned. Okay? May 30th, May 29th, that just passed, it was 30 years that my brother died 30 years ago on May 29th on Memorial Day, and he was gay. He was an academic scholar, he was a PhD professor at Illinois Institute of Technology, okay? I've never mentioned this or spoke up to this, but our tolerance for everybody is eroding, and that's obvious by one person in the crowd. So anyway, there you go. That's my 50 cents worth. I appreciate it.
thank you, Michael, and I think that at least your council here is very tolerant.
Well, we all have to be tolerant.
Right,
I don't have to like you, but by God, I gotta respect you.
thank you.
Okay.
We feel that way about you and everybody else.
I need that.
Thank you. Would anybody else like to get up and speak?
About anything.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Well, now we're to final remarks by council. Chuck, you want to start?
I would like to just mention, I heard during the presentation for Morrison's, a lot of people were concerned their views were gonna be obstructed. And I was heavily involved in the beach replenishment effort in Beach Haven and had to go out and try and acquire easements from people. And down in Loveladies, there were massive lawsuits by the people who had oceanfront properties who lost their views. And the litigation was unsuccessful. It's not a winning strategy, I guess, so.
If you have oceanfront property, how can you lose your view?
Is that it?
Yeah.
Well, that makes sense. And Chuck really worked hard getting those easements. He single-handedly went around to get
This
those.
was the hand right here.
That's right. Okay, Tom.
I guess.
Okay. Jamie.
I just wanted to say that, my concern with the increased height that was passed tonight is that once you approve the increased height for one hotel, who's to say that the surrounding businesses are not gonna come back and ask for variances? And I'm saying that because I've been to the last land use board meetings, multiple, and every meeting, someone is asking for a height variance. And we just opened the door now for every hotel, the Seashell. I've seen owners of other hotels at these meetings just waiting for this to approve. And who's to say that they can't go up to 45 feet also? So, I think we just opened up Pandora's box and we'll have to deal with that again. And as far as, it'll be very interesting for me to see this active marina. We have people sleeping on boats and a bathhouse and an upscale hotel. It will be interesting to see how that works out as well. Mr. Allen?
Morrison's, I get it, with being a marina owner, that if it goes on Pennsylvania Avenue, and I advocated for that to at least share the corner. It's going to impact the operation. The travel lift is going to be impaired. I'm still waiting to see the site plan on where he's going to store all these boats. He had mentioned when we asked early in the game that he had massive room up at the causeway to store boats. But does he have a travel lift? I'm still waiting for that answer. Not there. I went with the height just based on the fact that he already has the two-story plan, which in my opinion and the Architectural Review Committee's opinion was a free car. He already had approval to do that. So weighing the two options between them, it's aesthetically having it broken up like that would be nice. I still wish there was some compromise that could be made. I understand it would impact the marina development. I have a lot of questions about the CAFRA. I've been hearing two sides to the story, for a long time now.
Me too.
But, that's not for us to decide. That's for the DEP to decide.
Right.
So hopefully they lose as much sleep over this as we have. So.
Thank you. All I'm going to say is, I think it was a beautiful weekend. One of the things when I first got on council, which was like 9 years ago, and Chuck was mayor, one of the things we really wanted to do is to increase the activity on the shoulder seasons, and I really think that we have. It really was exciting to see so much activity in town this weekend, and usually you have a big Memorial Day and then things are sort of dead. I kind of like it when it's dead myself, but it's nice to have activities. I like it better, like just now. This is perfect. So, but I was really pleased. The art show was wonderful. There were a lot of people out walking around. It was kind of windy. The Lighthouse Film Festival was absolutely magnificent. I saw so many good movies. I'm exhausted from watching too many movies. But there were a lot of people, looked like the restaurants were filled and people were, well behaved. I didn't see any problems. So it was exciting to see so much activity this early in June, which it's usually pretty dead. So, I think that's one goal that we have managed to meet and hopefully meet even better. And that it's nice to have that activity on the weekends. Although I wish I could keep it this way over summer. But anyway, that's all I have to say. And do I have a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
I'll second.
Bye.
Okay, thank you.